on this committee with us?
I think.
I'm not exactly with you.
I know that. That's why I'm questioning that. I know. He wants to put in his 2 cents, Rolf.
It's fine.
I think it's
We want
appropriate, but I
people
think it's
yeah,
too early
we
to
want
appoint
people
a
to put in their
subcommittee.
2 cents.
Yeah.
Well, your cool thing is I won't be chair of that committee, so I'm not going to make that decision. So when that board is picked, then you guys can
I
decide.
don't have to worry.
Yeah,
I won't
exactly.
nominate you again. Never.
Are we moving right along here?
Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll never nominate you again, ever. Yeah, we're moving along.
Okay.
Sam's irritating me. All right, let's see. All right, so,
Okay, so do we need a motion to approve this letter?
yes.
Make a motion to approve the letter as drafted dated August 1st to the commissioner, starting the withdrawal process.
Second.
Hold on. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, let's sign that. So that thing gets sent. State, this meeting needs to get over. No, but you've seen me mad before, so I don't know if you're gonna butt heads with me, do you?
Oops, wrong button.
The other end.
Rip yourself wide open there, Sam.
I wanted to give her a chance.
Give me a
It's
chance.
done.
She needs some.
Because you're
Oh, my face is like seriously like burning up. Like this is the most goofiest meeting ever, I swear.
Yeah.
All right, public comment.
No. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Well, I was going to move the warrant, but that's all right. We can do that after.
The new Mr. Bob O'Neill.
Mr. O'Neill. Hi, good evening. My name is Bill Fraser. I live in public comment. Is this the forum where
I can bring up anything that's not on the agenda?
Yes.
Is that what this is for? Good. Okay, a few weeks ago, I sent an email to the town asking about a neighbor who's piling junk at the top of their driveway. It's a pile of rusty scrap metal. It's an eyesore. It's going to be a hazard when the snow starts to fly, which is probably, as you know, living in Maine, can be as early October. Sure.
No, I mean as far as snow flying.
I know, no one wants to talk about it, but this is a pile of junk that the garbage men will never take away, and it's been sitting there since pre-Memorial Day, and the pile keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I was just wondering if the town had any update on that, or?
Sure. I had written back to you, Bill, and told you that we'd have the department heads that had hopefully some jurisdiction to look into it, and so it doesn't meet the criteria for lot coverage and so forth under the codes, so that's not a possibility.
What does that
It's
mean?
marginally possibly within the right-of-way, so that's a possible issue, but and then as far as the health issue, looked at it from that standpoint, it's not that. But what's going to happen more likely than not in talking to Nathan is that, you know, the town will probably get involved, and it isn't growing, it's going the other way actually. I kind of go by it and watch it.
The scrap metal's growing.
Well, it's not growing, it's less than it was, but we're trying to work with the property owner. I get the idea, the eyesore, the liability issue, all of that, but, you know, with this, I guess at the end of the day, in terms of resolution, it may come to the town to resolve it. We're having difficulty with the obstinate or uncooperative, I guess, property owner, or not able to accomplish the task. Property owner apparently able to get it up to the road, but not able to get it disposed of properly.
Right.
So we're gonna make a resolution one way or the other, and it may well be the town resolving it in the end. But right now we're still in the mode of trying to. You know, Nathan's been trying to work with him. Scott's been there a couple of times.
Do you have any idea of how long it's going to take?
Well, I'm tired of it, so, and I'm sure you're tired of it. So
Yeah.
I'll see if I can't get it resolved fairly quickly.
All right, great. Thanks
What's
for
the
the
address of that?
337 Raymond Hill Road, I think.
Yeah.
It's not really the.
Because it still works, is what the way I'm
Well,
taking it then. Yeah. No, I mean, they're working on it. They just haven't gotten that
It's not
answer
really,
you want right yet.
it's not really something that I have a great jurisdiction over, but it's an eyesore, and it's a detriment to the quality of life of the neighborhood,
Absolutely.
and it's something that we'll resolve.
Well, I'm not the only neighbor who's
Oh, I
complaining.
understand that.
And
it's come to the point now where it's sort of like somebody who dumps off a refrigerator or television or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
We have that frequently,
Yeah.
so we'll get it resolved.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Cool.
See you at yoga.
Anybody else with public comment? Nope. Selectmen comment?
Nope, not tonight.
I've had my say enough tonight. Nope. All right. Town manager's report.
Okay, I got a couple of things quickly. I think you're aware of one in a kind of a big way because I talk about it a lot, and that's the whole broadband issue. There will be an article in the Wyndham Eagle this Friday that I think kind of hopefully will generate some more interest and I guess understanding of the need for high-speed internet and broadband and why it is so important. And so I'm really excited and anxious for that to come out. And nothing has really changed in terms of where we're at this point. You know, it's still the 4 towns working together with Cumberland County, trying to come up with a funding model and mechanism and/or a way to leverage the private sector to get the backbone infrastructure installed on our main roads. But anyhow, I think there is a lack of understanding about what it is and why it is and how it is and why we need it. And so hopefully that article will be helpful in that regard. And so broadband, which we're still talking about that, still trying to work together to make that happen. Another thing that's happened in the kind of the interlocal cooperation area, more in the here and now, is that Nathan had come up with an idea of the possibility of working with Casco and Naples. Both towns are at some level looking at public works, stepping into the public works realm from contract operations. Naples has an employee. Casco, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure they have a public works dedicated employee, but they have an interest in public works functions. So as you know, we're thinking about putting on winter people, and we're going to be putting winter people on as we take the contract back. So Nathan's idea was, well, perhaps we could reach out to our neighboring communities, see if there's any interest in working together, sharing human resources, sharing equipment. And turns out that there is some interest in Naples. They discussed it at a meeting last week. I'm going to meet with the Naples town manager tomorrow. Casco, Dave says there is some interest, but they're a little bit behind Naples. They've just begun talking about it. So one of our core tenets is where it makes sense for the parties to work together, as in towns and or other entities, we should do so. So we're just going to explore that and see if there's something there. At the very least, there's an opportunity, as we have done in the past, to lease some of our not everyday used equipment. An example from a few years ago is the GIS equipment, which I did lease to the town of Casco, saved Casco money, was a revenue stream for us. So I think insofar as we can work together, sharing resources we should, we're going to begin discussions on that, and I think that's kind of an interesting topic. So that's tomorrow. Ready? Keep on rolling?
Keep going.
rolling.
Keep rolling. Confirm dates for upcoming regular meetings, September 11th and October 9th. Reminder of upcoming holiday schedule, if those dates are okay. Those dates okay?
Yep.
Okay, so Monday, September 3rd is Labor Day. That's all I have. Is that enough?
Oh, nice job on the town office down there, by the way.
Nathan, I would say that's the person who Nathan and our contractors, and so we're getting the painting done now, but Floyd Brown Construction did the siding and the trim and so forth, and it's cement board, so it's insofar as anything's forever, this is I guess good quality stuff, should be there a long time, and relatively hopefully, I wouldn't say maintenance free, but maintenance improved over what we had with the wood.
And I really, really, really like the double sign.
The double sign,
Have
okay,
you guys
that's
seen
another
that?
topic, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the double sign, we're still as a work in progress. As you may be aware,
It
some
moved.
people who work for the town are a little anal retentive. And so basically, it was not exactly at the right attitude. It's not
Attitude or
altitude. It's not. It was not square to the road, and it's not perfectly upright, and it had been lowered without our consent down the hill. We lost some elevation,
I did
and
see
elevation
that.
is everything with that sign. So the sign company is going to come back and put some risers to get the inches we lost in the sign, which will match us back into the garden when Nathan rebuilds that. They're going to make it perfectly upright because I want it to be perfectly upright.
He just
And I
admitted.
did agree that we'd be okay on the approximate 1 degree out of skew of the road, but it will be higher and it will be straight. So,
That's gotta be driving you absolutely nuts.
well, I don't like
doesn't it?
things like that, no. If you pay for something, it should be right.
All right.
So we're gonna get it right. But other than that, I mean, we've gotten a lot of compliments on it. I think it's, I mean, people get their info there, I think.
They do. That's cool. All right. Treasurer's warrant.
Move the treasurer's warrant at $123,904.96.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? You didn't need your old person's app to read that either, like Joe used to. All right. Guess what? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Out.
Peace.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen public hearing. And we're here tonight to talk about the town warrant for the special election on August 14th. And the article will read, vote by secret ballot. The question, do you favor filing a petition for withdrawal with the Board of Education authorizing the withdrawal committee to expend $50,000 over 2 years and authorizing the select board to issue notes in the name of the town of Raymond or otherwise pledge the credit of the town of Raymond in an amount not to exceed $50,000 over 2 years for this purpose. So we're going to start tonight's public hearing out by, I have a small PowerPoint, and then we're going to pass it over to Attorney Dan Stockford. And he has, we'll be talking about the process. And here we go. In 2000, this is going to say how we got from where we are to today. In 2014, the RSU 14 board rolled out 3 options for a middle school. And across the bottom everyone considers some kind of a middle school. Raymond did not want to pay for a new school when we had a perfectly good school here in Raymond that Wyndham could send their kids to. Several public meetings were held, and the sum of those meetings were there was no way they were going to force kids to come to Raymond, meaning Wyndham people. In the fall of 2014, a petition to withdraw from the RSU was presented to the select board. In November, the town of Raymond voted to proceed with the withdrawal process. Regarding the meetings and negotiations to work on that whole process, in 2015, after numerous meetings with the RSU 14 board, select board, and the withdrawal committee, a new amended cost-sharing agreement was reached. On March 25, 2015, the towns of Wyndham and Raymond voted in Wyndham to accept the new amended cost-sharing agreement. What the amended cost-sharing agreement is, originally when Raymond consolidated with Wyndham, the split ratio for paying the costs was Wyndham 55% and Raymond 45%. The new amended cost-sharing agreement was changed to reflect the decrease of kids going to the RSU from Raymond. Over the next 3 years, 16, 17, and 18, the percentage that Raymond would pay decreased. In 2018, the percentage was Wyndham 64 and Raymond 36. Raymond did not, once again, just to add to this real quick, is Wyndham, the school board was still pushing for a new school. Raymond did not want to have to pay for a new middle school in Wyndham, so a new cost-sharing plan was formed. It covers capital costs. The attorney for the RSU described major capital costs as, quote, new footprints. On March 5th, 2015, the business manager for the RSU at a public hearing at RES described the cost-sharing agreement major capital costs as, quote, construction that changes the footprint of the building, end quote, would be the responsibility of the municipality in which such building is located. On 3/25/2015, at a public hearing, public vote at the Wyndham High School, Sandy Prince, the superintendent, gave a presentation before the vote as to what the cost-sharing agreement major capital costs meant. He reiterated the comments made by Don Davis, who was the business manager at the 3/5/15 meeting, and said that major capital improvements were additions, and whether or not the RSU has any lease or debt obligation for the capital project, it would be the responsibility of the municipality where it is located. Fast forward 3 years. The town of Wyndham wants/needs a new facility garage. It was voted down several times by the taxpayers of Wyndham. The town brings in the RSU to help, quote, sell the facility. The facility Wyndham wants to build is the top notch of buildings. The cost of the building is $9.3 million with approximately $3 million in interest. The facility will be owned by the town of Wyndham, and town of Wyndham has stressed that majorly. The town of Wyndham will be paying 75% of the cost of the building, and the RSU will be paying 25%. Of that 25%, 36% will be paid by Raymond. The town of Wyndham voted and passed the facility/garage. The town of Raymond never got to vote on whether or not they wanted this facility, but have to pay a portion of it. Raymond will never, I'm gonna stress that, never own this building, but will be paying approximately $1.2 million for this facility, plus operations, maintenance, and repairs. This is a new footprint. Raymond should only be paying for operations, maintenance, and repairs, not lease payments. When talking with the Raymond RSU representatives, they did not have any answers about the facility except they were in favor of it. After hearing about the maintenance facility garage, the select board tried to meet with the RSU board and the town of Wyndham. Neither would meet with the select board. The town attorney sent several letters requesting a sit-down meeting to talk about the cost-sharing agreement, and they have refused to sit down and talk this out. On October 12th, the question was asked to the superintendent. This was at a meeting that was held in Wyndham regarding the facility. The superintendent was asked, have other alternatives of a new facility been explored? Sorry, typo. The response was, we had a partnership with Wyndham and we felt to go forward and stay with Wyndham. It made sense. We weren't really searching for any other options. The RSU and the RSU board did not do their due diligence in looking for another place that was financially responsible. The RSU currently pays $9,400 a year for leasing the current facility in Wyndham. This number will go up substantially with a new facility. On May 5th, 2018, the RSU board voted to approve the lease of a modular for 3 years to house the overflow of kids from the Wyndham Middle School. The kids can be sent to Jordan Small School because there is plenty of room, but Wyndham will not send their kids to Raymond. This modular is a new footprint. The cost of this modular should be paid for 100% by Wyndham, but the RSU is adding this cost to the general budget, and Raymond will have to pay a portion of it. On May 5th also, the RSU board voted to approve a 4-year lease purchase of a modular to house the adult education program. This program can be housed in either JSMS or RES. They both have room for them. This is a new footprint. Again, this cost should be paid for 100% by Wyndham, but the RSU is adding it to the cost of the general budget, thereby having Raymond pick up part of the costs. The expense of both of the modulars could have been saved by utilizing the buildings that are in the RSU, JSMS and RES. Other issues. The school is sitting on $6.5 million in their undesignated account. And with the following issues. JSMS and RES is using 9-year-old computers, and I believe in this year's budget they just voted on $1.1 million to buy 1,100 new computers. RES is going on a 5-year plan, I believe, for not having their playground finished. Most of the work has been done by Alyssa Messer. The playground was taken out of the 2018 budget because the board had to make, quote, hard cuts. Choice. This is a big issue with people, and this is something people need to remember. A big concern of the people of Raymond is what happens to the kids that are going to high school. Raymond voted to keep choice before we consolidate it. Now, we will have choice if we were to separate. Raymond student count. Our student count is going way down. As of June 15, 2018, the Raymond student population is as follows. We have 166 kids in the high school, 27 have choice, JSMS has 174, RES has 224. Our portion of the budget. Out of a $46 million budget for the RSU, we'll be paying $9.2 million. RSU receives $14 million in state subsidy. Out of that $14 million, we'll be receiving $123,000. The withdrawal process is a 22-step process. Mark Eastman, I have him on here, sorry, Dan. Mark Eastman is a consultant that we are working with, and attorney Dan Stockford is also an attorney that we're working with that has done this process, and he's going to take us into the next steps as to the whole process.
Great.
Do you have a PowerPoint as well? Or no?
I do. So as Teresa said, I'm an attorney. My office is in Lewiston. I've been practicing law for more than 25 years, school law for more than 25 years. And I've represented more than 20 municipalities around the state of Maine who have gone through the withdrawal process under the statute. I've also represented some school districts that have RSUs that have had town agreement and
approach and strategy for withdrawal. So what I will cover is, and I'll try to go through this quickly, the procedures for withdrawal. The state identifies it as a 22-step process. I will conflate some of those steps, but it is the heart of the process is negotiating the withdrawal agreement with the RSU, so I'll spend more time on that. And I'll cover briefly some of the potential issues that in the withdrawal negotiations, issues that will need to be addressed in the withdrawal agreement, and then briefly cover what it would mean if Raymond voted to withdraw at the end of the process, and some of the issues are relating to starting up a new municipal school unit. So the first step is a petition initiating the process, and that has been filed, and that's why we're here tonight. So in a couple of weeks, you will vote on whether to initiate the process. And on this slide, you'll see the language of the question. Do you favor filing a petition for withdrawal, authorizing the withdrawal committee to expend $50,000 over 2 years for the purpose of engaging in the withdrawal process? The statute requires a public hearing, that's the first of 2 votes that you would take as part of the process. So there's a vote at the beginning to decide to initiate it, and then a vote at the end to decide whether to in fact withdraw. Once the vote is forward, there'll be an initial meeting of the withdrawal committee, and the chair of the RSU board presides over that meeting, basically just to kick things off. And then the withdrawal committee will elect their chair, and then from that point on, the withdrawal committee will engage in the process of putting together the withdrawal agreement. Under the law, it says that the responsibility for preparing the withdrawal agreement rests with the withdrawal committee. The statute doesn't specifically state that it needs to be negotiated with the RSU, but the Maine law court has interpreted the statute, or the previous statute, which applied to SADs, which was identical, as basically to agree with the Department of Education's position that what the statute requires is a negotiated agreement. So the bulk of the withdrawal process consists of negotiating with the board of the RSU over the terms of withdrawal agreement. And once that withdrawal agreement is negotiated, then there will be a vote by citizens here in Raymond on whether to approve the withdrawal agreement and move forward with withdrawal. There's no specific dispute resolution mechanism in the withdrawal statute. The Department of Education has advocated for that with the legislature, and there's been a couple of bills in recent legislative sessions to include a withdrawal, or rather a dispute resolution mechanism, but that to date that hasn't happened. So it requires negotiation. If there's a stalemate, the parties can agree on a dispute resolution, such as mechanisms such as mediation, and often the commissioner will, encourage the parties to come to terms on an agreement. The statute provides that the withdrawal agreement be submitted to the commissioner within 90 days of the date that the withdrawal committee is formed. In all the withdrawals I've been involved in, that 90-day time frame has not been met, but the department routinely authorizes extensions of the 90-day period. So it's a process that's likely to take at least 6 months to a year from beginning to end. As far as a withdrawal date, if you want to withdraw by July 1st, you need to have the withdrawal agreement finalized and submitted to the department a full year ahead of that date. So for example, if Raymond was a July 1st, 2020 withdrawal date, you would need to submit the withdrawal agreement by June 30th of next year, about a year from now. Once a withdrawal agreement is negotiated, it is submitted to the commissioner for conditional approval. This commissioner has 60 days to act on it. Generally, it's a much shorter time frame. And once it's conditionally approved, the commissioner directs that a second public hearing be held. And that public hearing would likely be held. Raymond, the RSU board would conduct that hearing. And within 30 days after that hearing, the withdrawal committee would forward the final agreement to the commissioner. I think all, with possibly one exception, with all of the withdrawals I've been involved in, there haven't been any changes after that public hearing. Usually it stays between conditional approval and final approval. After it's submitted for final approval and the commissioner approves it, the commissioner sets a date for the final vote to approve the withdrawal agreement. And the directive from the statute is that the commissioner attempt to set that date to coincide with a statewide election. And given the requirements that apply to Raymond's approval of the withdrawal agreement, which requires a minimum turnout, it will be to your advantage to have it on the date of a statewide election, because there needs to be at least half the number of voters that voted in the last gubernatorial election have to vote on it. The referendum will be conducted. There's a public hearing that must take place before the vote, so that would be the third public hearing in the process.
Can I ask you something on that?
Sure.
So what you're saying then is, say there's 2,000 voters. We have to have at least 1,000 voting, but there doesn't have to be 1,000 yeses.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just the total number of votes cast has to equal at least the number of votes cast in the last gubernatorial election.
Okay.
But it doesn't need to be at least, that doesn't need to be the number of votes in the affirmative. Once the agreement is approved by the voters, the department is notified, and the commissioner ultimately issues a certificate of withdrawal. So I'll cover some of the issues that typically arise in withdrawal negotiations. The first is, how are you going to educate your kids? And the statute provides that for the first year after withdrawal, all students have the right to attend the same school that they attended or would have attended if withdrawal hadn't happened. And the statute also addresses what the tuition rate in that first year will be. In later years, the statute doesn't require this, but the Department of Education does. There needs to be a 10-year agreement that Raymond would have with another school unit, that for any grades that you don't operate, there's a district that will take any student that chooses to go there. That doesn't mean you need to send all your kids to that school unit, but at the very least, that school unit has to be willing to take any student that you might send. Often that is the RSU that a municipality withdraws from. In some cases, towns turn to other local school units for that school of guaranteed acceptance. But because Raymond doesn't have its own high school, correct? You would need to have an agreement with some school unit that they would take any high school kid that wish to go there. That's where, and as I said, that would be for a 10-year period. On the issue of school choice, unless the withdrawal agreement were to provide that you are sending all of your students to another school, to a particular school, your students would continue to have school choice. So as long as there wasn't an exclusive tuition contract for your students, school choice would be preserved. Yeah, that's okay. Why don't you bump back to special ed? Yeah, it needs to address who's going to educate your special ed students and who's going to pay the costs. Typically, you would be paying the costs of your own special education students, no matter what other district that they attended.